And we are live. We are the Divided People. I'm your host, Marky Mark.
And I'm Lance.
The other host?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes. And in front of me, we have Davalius Kelly. Davalius, introduce yourself.
Man, I'm Davalius. Right here from Hammond, Ponchatoula. Went to school with Mark. Invited to do a little chit-chatting, so I'm here for it.
So you're a coach at Fountain Blue, correct?
Yes, sir.
A football coach.
Yes, sir.
What coach?
Linebackers.
Linebackers.
Yes,
Oh, man, you play. That's perfect for you.
Hey, that's what I'm saying, right into it.
Because most of the time, like our coaches, they're like, yeah, I never played that position before.
Yeah, that was a blessing. I was like, man, where they gonna put me at? But they put me right there. I'm like, hey, you know what? It works out perfect for me. But I was open to whatever. Honestly, I was just like, let me get my foot in the door.
Yeah, that's what man. I mean, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Yeah, that's pretty young for a coach, huh?
Coach, yeah. And it's like I say, Banco was kind of like of course I wanted to be at Ponchatoula, but it was like, I'm a rookie. I need somebody to really learn from.
Right.
Who would I want to learn from? I played underneath him. I got my first starting shot underneath him. So what better person than Banco? So.
Gotcha. So, motivating the kids. Let's get straight into it.
Oh man, that's
What age group are we talking about?
high school.
Okay.
High school. I would say it is different because I mean, even seeing the mentality and the people. It's different compared to when I think about, when we were there. There were some things you didn't have to ask of us. Some things, you didn't have to try to get. And it's like really trying to get them to let their fire burn and really just, kind of lay it on the line. It's like getting them to keep that switch on. It's like a on-off thing, keeping them up. That's like the hardest thing. Or to getting them see the value in what it is that we're doing. Sometimes, they might feel like, man, why are we doing this, and not, they don't see the end game or, like everybody wants the success. They want all of that, but they don't understand that in between, So,
oh, absolutely. That's one thing people don't understand. Because you hear celebrities all the time say, it's like, how did you make it? I kept going. I did not stop.
Peter Dinklage, the little, the short guy on Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
I watched a video about him saying that he was broke. He had something. I forgot the story. It was pretty interesting. He's talking about his cat, and for some reason, the cat is what kept him going. For some reason, his cat motivated him, and then he ended up getting all these movie parts and blew up, and now he's one of the biggest people in Hollywood.
And that's what it is. It's like
no pun intended.
With motivation, kind of, it's like I mean, a lot of people think it's kind of like that rah fire up, but it's always like finding that something to pull from, knowing why you do what you do, why you can't quit, why you have to keep going, what's on the line if I don't go, And I think when you get to that and you start to realize that more, it's really about what you've been through, your experiences, and that's why you got to start to appreciate them and take the lessons, because it's sometimes in the hardships that help you, or it's like, look back, man, you remember this time when I was going through this or dealing with that, so this isn't too bad. Or just like being able to be like, okay, what I want to give my mom something, whether that's want to pass on something to her, let her see something, okay, let me go hard because I want her to see that. Or I might find it in my nieces and nephews. I want them to experience things that I haven't experienced, so it's like, okay, I also have them, but also doing it for me because I want to see myself be the best version of me, and then from that I become a better son, better brother, better uncle, better person, better friend, and everything else, and it all stems from that, so that's part of like my daily motivation. I would love to see myself at my peak,
How often is it, well, how troubling is it to see, because your motivation probably goes a lot with those kids.
Mm-hmm.
So how does it feel when you see certain kids, because I know you probably see certain kids that you're like, they're not feeling it.
Some people struggling more than others.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of, I kind of, you see the different people, and it's like, knowing everybody's different, And one thing I will say that I'm experienced is like, I always think back to when I was a player, and what didn't I have that I wish I had, And most coaches are like, yeah, they rah, I could do that, but I try not to, I know how to be that asshole, that's natural. I was always that fiery guy, I'll do it, I'm loud. Mm-hmm. But now it's like a more tender tone, let me talk to you man to man. Let me look you in your eye, you hear me. I give you a chance to level, I'm not just going to hound you, Mm-hmm. It's like back to how we say we need to start teaching people to think. So instead of me to just rah, let me get you to see why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Dude, I remember when we were playing football in high school, dude. You'd be that one in the middle. Come on, guys! I'm like, because he was like, you weren't that tall sometimes, so you jump up and you're like, yes, okay, let's go. You'd be so that's the littlest people sometimes. You'd be so surprised because he'll get us in order quick. You'd be surprised, and sometimes I forget who else it was, but like I felt like you were doing someone else's job because at first you weren't supposed to do it, but then you kept doing it because like we were playing, and I think this might have been a JV game. You were just showing us the ropes of the JV at the time, and you were like the person that was supposed to be doing like getting us together in the huddle or getting quick setups. Like he wasn't really doing it. And you're like motivating, like, come on guys, we got this. Let's go.
Probably another linebacker, the guy who's supposed to be the leader. You know.
Yeah.
Like let's go on.
But you were very much one of the leaders we saw in football in high school, and I do remember that, and that's why when I saw you being a coach, I'm like, yeah, no, that's him. Like that's not one of those things. Like really, coach? You know, like no.
Well, I don't know if you remember too. Like they used to play around with it, but they be like Coach Davalius.
Yeah.
Or, Coach Kelly. What's up, man? Or they do that whole thing. So it was just kind of funny. We was kind of cracking up about that too. Like, man, we really kind of spoke it into existence.
Yeah.
But hey, it's like I said, I love it.
It's a good step, man. Like especially for like in high school, because I see a lot of people who are like, yeah, I want to be a coach, and then they're coaching like little leagues. But you stepped in right away. I'm like, dang, he's up there already, and that's a good accomplishment.
I kind of knew that off dumb because it was like I really wanted to kind of affect guys who really are already at that level to where they can like process and really think, and that's the level where the game really kind of takes that next step, like that's when you really start learning who's really going to be what. So I really wanted to be kind of in that rather than at the lower level with it.
So
can you tell like I don't know, I've never coached or anything like that, but like when you got a game going on, can you like tell when someone just ain't feeling it that day, like their mind just ain't in the right place?
Yeah, you can. You really can. I mean, like I said, you could tell from an experience where, okay, say we had a play where a guy, he gave up a bomb, boom, he scored. It might take him 2 or 3 quarters to get back in the game. So the whole time it's like, man, I got to stay in his ear. Or how can I get him to flip that switch again to get right back in gear? Hey, I might be able to do it by that next series. Or sometimes it might take until that last quarter, And then, like you say, or we might pull up and I'm like, man, I don't know if they got it today. But let me see if I could reach them. Let me see if I could, connect with them. And that's why I say it's always about trying to give them something to pull from. So every part of the trial, like my boy said, 4 quarters, 4 years, and that's something to really think about. It's 4 quarters, there's 4 years, and it's just boom, 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 boom. So it's like, how can I take the lesson in each step and be able to pull from it? You never get another freshman year. You never get another sophomore, junior, senior. Like my lesson in the way I try to touch my seniors now is like, how much more time do you have? Every day is running out. You don't get another summer to come here. Okay, let me try to get it together. Or like say you a guy where you don't feel like, I might not go to college. So my only way is to get a scholarship or to earn something, where I'm like, what are you doing it for? And constantly just kind of remind them, and if I could do that, hey, I'm getting them. But I definitely try to connect with each and every one of them, and each and every one of them requires something different too.
I know when I was in high school, I know all of us kind of, I know I was guilty of it. I didn't take it as seriously as I should have. I wasn't in the right mindset. I felt like it was playtime almost, like it was a vacation, just goofing off with my friends and stuff. And then you get a little older and you're like, damn, what was I thinking? You're like,
yeah, looking
that
back
was
on
so
that.
important.
Because one of the reasons why I did football was actually just that was one thing. That was one thing my dad really loved to watch was football, and so honestly, I did football just to have him pay a little bit more attention to me. And looking back on it, I'm like, damn, I probably I loved football. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't a player.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Yeah, I played for it, but I was at the same time I kind of wish I would have done something I would have wanted done instead to better myself and be where I want to be at this point.
Or if it was just to the point where I want to play because I love playing.
Well, and that was the thing. I did love playing because I was playing with most of my friends, and then most of my friends started leaving, and at one point I was just kind of sitting there like, damn, I'm really not talking to anybody. Yeah. And like my friend, all my
just kind of here.
Yeah, I'm like, it was fun at first, but it changed, and that's when I found out it wasn't for me.
That's what's supposed to be a part of it too, and that's where like you kind of, I could see that being a problem in this generation too, where they get, because they have social media already, so it's automatically looking at, okay, who's looking at me, who's seeing me, it becomes kind of like self-driven rather than focusing on the team aspect of it. Because I know from my best years, man, it was a camaraderie, it was a brotherhood that we had.
Right.
You know, like a lot of the guys now, we still just like, man, give me a hug, bro. I see you. You know that's just the type of connection we have. And so like to say it was ever just like a moment where it's like, man, I could just leave. It's like I know I always had somebody, you know. Like I said, I remember different things, just how competitive we were. It would just be like, okay, first hour, y'all got 7 stadiums, you know. Second hour, my hero, they did, you know, that meaning, okay, well, we're going to do this amount. Then the next hour, oh, well, they did it. So by the end of the day, we didn't already maxed out, but that's just how, like, we were, you know, and it was just to push each other even further. And, like,
being soldiers together.
Yeah.
No, I see what you're saying, because I still had, not all my friends left, but at the same time, I think it was more, I made the self-awareness of, I'm probably not going to put my all into this anymore, because it's not something I did want to follow. Like, I didn't want to go to college and play football. It wasn't something I wanted to do. It was fun, but at the same time, I was like, it's time for me to focus on other things. And that was one of the reasons why I stepped out, too, because I was like, I want to be a writer.
Yeah.
And so my sophomore year was probably, I think I played a little bit junior, but I was like, I think that's it for me. Because I was like, I want to focus on what I want to do.
And that's important, too. Like I said, the main thing about it, I mean, and I feel like for sports, too, like, yeah, I love that competitive nature of it, but it helped me become who I am, you know, and I think that's part of it, too. It's like I'm literally investing in these guys. It's not just like, hey, man, I care about you just as a football player, you know. It's like I care about you as a person, too. So anything I tell you is to help you as a man in life, too. Like, you know, for example, we had a guy, he was complaining about, he didn't think he was going to make it. He was having a headache, you know. I'm like, man, a headache, man? I'm like, man, sometimes, you know, you got to work, you got to go pay them bills, and you got a headache, you know. That's preparing him for life, you know. That's not just football, like, oh, tough it through, you know. I mean, sometimes you got to see what you can do even when you are hurt, you know. But like I say, that's going to help him as a man and not just as a football player, too. And, you know, I can't say I had a ton of people telling me things that were going to help me be a better man. Or maybe they were, but they weren't laying it down the way I feel like I try to lay it down for them, where I'm coming to you as a young man and I'm talking to you rather than just rah.
Yeah, I gotta say, when I was, I mean, y'all are about 10 years younger, but they, when I was in school, like, there wasn't no coach wasting their time on you like that.
Nah.
You ain't feeling today, man, get off my field.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing here?
They coaching for a paycheck. That's a lie. You know what I'm saying? But see, that's the mark of a good coach. Because any coach worth his salt, you're there to develop. You know what I'm saying? Because you guys, you can only play this game for so long, especially football. You know what I'm saying? I'm 30. These days I walk like I'm 80. You know what I'm saying? So, like, because I was the same way. Any young athlete I dealt with, I want them to be a good human being away from the field, away from the track, away from the court. You know what I'm saying? Because sports mirror society. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you see going on in society, that's what's going on. So, like with the social media deal, I could stomach that. But the one thing I used to tell people, I can't coach against the dinner table. You have a lot of Me Too parents. Like when I was in the classroom, I was like, everybody wants the bumper sticker saying, my baby is an honor roll student. You just want the result. You don't want the process. The best grade I ever got in college was an F. Because I learned more with that F than any class I ever made an A, B, or C in my entire academic career.
What's that quote? Failure teaches you more than a success will ever.
I had a teacher that had a philosophy that didn't want to give a C for nothing. Either you were getting didn't want C's, B's. He didn't believe they existed. He was like, you should get an A or an F.
Yeah.
It should be you either succeed or you failed. I mean, I was like, at the time I was like, oh, that's bullshit, you know. but now I'm like, oh, I kind of see what he meant. He meant either like it was a science teacher. He's like, look, you either know this information or you don't know it.
Right.
There is no I kind of know it. No. It don't work that way. You're either gonna succeed or you're gonna fail.
And I think that's the thing too, where we really need to let people master things. And I see that in school where it's like, okay, it's like we kind of learn it, and then it's on to the next math, on to the next English. Like, but can I say I mastered it? No, I kind of know it. I mean, that's why I feel like a lot of us, we could probably take tests on the stuff that we took. We spent 12 years learning, and how many of us would truly make?
How many people come back after the summer can't remember nothing?
We're gonna bomb it because we're at a point now where everything's about a test. You know what I'm saying? Athletically and academically, everything is for a test. You're prepping yourself for a test. As soon as the test's over with, you lose everything. You know what I mean? ACT, EOC, LEAP, CAT. You know what I'm saying? Because paychecks are on the line. You know
well, it's funny because I don't know what happened, but ever since our podcast, I don't know if like God's staring down at me, but I've been dealing with a lot of teachers at work I've been going to a lot of teachers' houses, fixing the cable, and we're just talking, and they'll bring up, you can tell the ones that really care about the students, and they'll go, I feel so bad because I know what we're teaching is garbage.
Facts.
And some of them say what you were telling before, is like, but I can't teach what I want to teach because I'll lose my job.
Yeah.
And
I can't, and you can't focus on them the way you want to focus on
one said,
them.
like, I drank myself to sleep knowing this, and I'm like, dang girl, you're getting deep on me. But she's like, she's like, you don't understand like the surreality of it, that I'm sitting here teaching, use your example, Christopher Columbus, but we're not teaching the bad things that he did or that came with it.
Yeah.
And it's like, we expect the saying is the history repeats itself, but we're not telling all of history. So
that's the problem. We want to sugarcoat everything. We want to just sweeten it up and let's go ahead and pass it on by.
Well, that's kind of like the pass or fail thing. If you're gonna teach it, why not go all in? You can't teach part of it.
Right.
That ain't who he was.
But that's how I felt about American history. Like, for instance, you spent a year on it in high school, and then really you didn't. We skipped over so much stuff. You was just like rolling through. And like one minute you're in the, just landing in America. Next you're in the industrial age, and then we'll go to Martin Luther King, and then we're Twin Towers. And you're like, wait, that was a week.
Well, see, it's all about depicting how everything looks, because the conqueror writes the history, so that's all it's about, and that's something that people need to think about too. If the conqueror writes the history, then let me go study somebody else's version of our history. Like, I was listening to a KRS-One video one time. He was saying the first book you should get is a passport. And he's like, go fly around, go to these different places and get their version of American history and see how it matches up.
It's funny when you hear other countries talk about American history. You're like, wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm American.
like where was that in our textbook? And I think that's important too. Education outside of the the norm that's given. I mean, education never stops. We're learning right now in this moment.
Oh yeah, like I have a book right there. It's America Before, and it's about ancient structures. It's saying like the Earth is older than we actually are, and we have there was people who had technology almost the same as us that just was wiped out. And you start looking at some of that stuff, and some of that they're describing, like, man, that's not that they say it's not too far off, but we lost it because they were conquered. Mm-hmm. Their existence were gone, and it's like, damn, like they're over here like struggling to find out what it is, and then back of mind I'm kind of like, man, I bet that might be something just so simple that we don't even realize that they're like, oh no, this is this, but we don't have the paper anymore. It's gone.
Yeah,
because we erased it.
I mean, they honestly, they of course people and they don't want you to have access to everything. It's about about monopolizing. Like, can I limit the sources, and then that means only I could do it, or I could put this out. So it's only so much.
That's one of the reasons I don't really like the political influence getting involved in school. It's like, no, y'all need to keep y'all's politics out of school. Let's just stick to facts, okay?
Yeah, that was weird.
Not curve it for your side or one side or the other side. No. If you're gonna talk about something, I might talk about both of them.
Well, I always thought that was weird with when you learn about history, because history was the main topic in high school. But you had American history, world history, and then you had civics that taught you politics. I'm like, wait, what? like that's different. That's not like. Yeah. Like, that shouldn't coincide together, but I was like, okay, I mean, I guess it is what it is.
Theoretically, it's supposed to. High school social studies is supposed to teach teenagers how to be citizens. American history give you perspective on where we came from and where we're going. World history give you a scope of just how everything is shaped, how everything's interconnected. In civics, hey, this is our Constitution. These are all the amendments. This boom, 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 bam.
See, it was like that at first, but we were running through like the first of the semester, and we were hearing current politics and our teachers' opinions about the politics.
Because it's whatever the EOC covers. Mm-hmm. Should you not? So like, let's say I was still in the classroom, and let's go into like this. Yeah, like this fall coming up would have been year 6 for me. All right, what was in the EOC last year? Like, I'd be talking to the upperclassmen. Okay, so they put more civil rights stuff on it. Okay, bet. So now I'm spending 2 or 3 weeks just talking about that era of time. Now they might switch the test up and like, oh, okay, it was more documented based questions. Okay, bet. So that the next year I'm catering my teaching to just straight DBQs.
Yeah, that's still a problem.
That's why the standardized testing and funding dictates how teachers teach.
Yeah, that's horrible. Because well, it is, because like, why would you teach for a test, not teach
But that's what it's
yeah,
about.
I know. And
even on the jobs, we got to take a test. Like that's what I was saying earlier. Like that's why.
I know we had.
That's why I always say athletics and academics mirror each other. Because same thing with athletics. you have to test well.
Even in the NFL, you're doing 40-yard dashes.
I can go take a kid. Yeah, I can go take a kid with bad hips, no IQ. But if that son gun can run a 4.3, give me a nice shuttle, give me a nice broad, a nice vert, I can get that kid a scholarship over the kid that's an actual player, and that happens all the time too.
Like I was telling someone, combine doesn't always show who's the best. I'm like, because it's just gonna give you some stats. I'm like, that don't tell you how he's gonna react in the game.
Everybody's different. You can't judge everybody off of one standard. You say standardized, but what's really standardized? I mean, you look at the vegetables and things that grows besides something that's GMO'd. Everything comes out different, so you can't look at them the same. Because it's shorter, does it have less nutrients in it? No, like, but that's what we're doing,
That's what I used to say about teaching boys. Like we they've done studies of this. They know boys don't learn the same as girls.
No.
But they want to teach them like they're
girls are more linear.
Hold still, sit in a chair, don't move all day.
But we have to go back where the school started. It started in the church. The church was the first school, so we follow that church setup. Not saying that's wrong or anything, but it's time to change.
Typically women teaching.
Let's change the setup,
I believe a lot of things in America should be not the way they are. It's so old school. I'm like,
and that's what it is, realizing, okay, all right, everybody can look and see, okay, our current system isn't working. But why do we continue to use the current system? And that's the problem,
But that's because no one wants to talk.
and that's it too. It's how many people want to have real conversations. I was listening to it's called Cannon's Classroom, and he said it's like they talk about the Matrix. Everybody being asleep. Because they don't want to see the reality of what's really going on because it's complicated and it's hard. But their bag and their dream is in the fantasy. So that's another reason to stay where they are. Because if I wake up and I acknowledge this, then I can't focus on this, or I can't just be on this. I have to look at this now too, and that's the problem. I don't want that. Like, let me just stay here and be cool with it. But
well, while we're on the topic of education, how do students feel with that? Like, do y'all sideline them over grades and stuff? Or?
I mean, we're definitely on them about the grades. Like, we check it because, of course, they can't even play if it's at a certain point. So, we have to keep them up. We stay on it.
I feel like that might be one of the harder motivators right there.
You have to motivate them to get better with all that.
We had a couple people like that would love to play football, but they sucked with the grades.
And I think it's kind of like now, I would say that's a benefit of social media, too, because they know that, okay, these schools are looking at my GPA, too, so okay, let me stay on that and stay in the books too. They have that benefit. And then also on the other end, there are those guys who realize if I don't pass in this classroom, I don't get to play on the field. Like, just that too. There's guys who have that, there's some, but I don't think it's as, and then I'm in Fontainebleau too, that's a different, that's a different area altogether. I don't know how it would be if I was in another school, another area. How does that dictate where Fontainebleau is known more for it's academic, so it's academically strong, So, but how is that going to be in a school where they might be more sports dominant than they are academically dominant, And I haven't experienced that yet either, so I don't know on that level. And I mean, that's something you might.
Well, hey, look, I'll be honest, man. I was at a junior high. I felt pressure to win. Like, it's, man, because you sitting there and you just like, you got some kids, ball is all they got. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to tell people, like, hey, look, me having this kid for 2, 3, 4 years, I might be delaying him going to jail, or I might be delaying her dying on the street somewhere. Not saying it's always that extreme, but there's kids that come from crap situations. Yeah, and the thing is like academics to an athlete, I'm gonna say 45% of the time is a necessary evil. You know what I mean? So it's just like the one and dones in college. A lot of those guys just want to play for a paycheck. Football and Greek life is the only reason why I even went to college.
Well, that's why a lot of people say in high school though. I had a buddy like that. He only wanted to play football. He could care less about school. And as soon as his grades dropped and he couldn't play anymore, he dropped out the next day. He said there was no point for him.
He was done. You know what I'm saying? So, but there are situations where I actually had a teammate. He was a year behind me. He went mid-major D1. The principal altered his transcript so he'd be eligible. I mean, that shit happens all. If you're good enough, which just like in life, if you're good enough and you don't do nothing stupid, people will cover for you.
I had a friend in high school. He was the top runner in our school. Mm-hmm. He was known throughout the whole area for long distance running. School looked out for him at every turn. I mean, I was like, I tell him like, dude, how the fuck, man? How do you just like wander around the halls and stuff?
But he probably wouldn't do anything stupid because anytime I had a gifted athlete and it was a headache, I'd be like, look, don't do nothing stupid. Don't do anything stupid. Don't act up, and I'll see what I can do. Like I can't tell you how many. I remember my first head coach in high school. He literally flipped because EBR. They went from the baseline was a 1.5. That's all you needed, and then eventually they raised it to a 2.0. So I remember one day we in weights, 7th hour weights, and coach was flipping. And she's like, "How the hell you can't be eligible? All you gotta do is make straight D's and an A. Hell, I give you a fucking A for 7th hour. You can't stay fucking eligible. You can get by with one F and straight D's." You know what I'm saying?
Because I know I got an A in this class.
Right. See, that's another thing too. That goes back to coaches not really caring about certain things.
Oh no, there's one particular coach. He can't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what if that man really had trouble reading? Like, what if he had issues and stuff like that?
I had a teammate. If the second head coach I had, if he would have did the paperwork and got this one particular teammate classified and sped, he'd have been eligible senior year. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, this one particular teammate, he did have a speech impediment and he was dyslexic. You know what I mean? But that was somebody we talk all the time. Like, I ain't going to college.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, he's great from South, has a beautiful family. You know what I mean? He's coaching his son in Pop Warner, but they have young athletes are basically trading cards. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you'll have a coach leave school A in a rural area and go to a school in the city because it's more athletes. But let's face it, poor white kids and black kids. That's what it is. Because I can go further. A lot of people don't understand is coaches, unless they've changed it, coaches can actually get bonus checks for playoff games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you know, so it's and then
For a high school coach.
Yeah. And then like
Wow.
if you have a gifted athlete, you can move up with that athlete. You know what I'm saying? So like when I lost my high school gig and ended up at the K through 8, I was trying to coach my way back because I hadn't had the opportunity to finish my certification. So I'm like, all right, if I kick everybody ass in this parish, I can flip this to an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So that's why with the grade piece, sometimes you might be sitting there and it's like, damn.
You know,
I need this kid. This kid gives me 20 a night. I mean, this kid, that's a chicken shit. He can be ineligible, but this one. And then you go talk to the teacher. What work can I get?
since you said that, that explains so much why my senior year, those coaches pushed that team like there was no tomorrow.
So much.
'Cause, you know,
Like,
the players we had my senior year was like top notch. It was like we had a chance to win. And I remember like hearing like, oh, they're doing this. And I'm like, they're doing that for summer training? We never did that. Like, damn, they're going off to a college school to train. What?
When there's an opportunity, you gotta punch it.
And that makes no sense. I'm like, at first I'm like, wow, he must really care about these people. But then when you say that, I'm like, oh, he cared about that paycheck 100%.
I mean, you could probably sit down with a random collection of high school players, and you could say, hey, do you feel like any of your coaches ever played favoritism towards somebody, or do you feel like they ever push somebody more than they push you? Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure more than 8 out of 10 would probably say, yeah, you know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Looking back on it now, I'm like, it makes so much sense why he paid attention to about 5 to 6 people in particular in my grade. And it was always weird because, you know, it was one grade. It wasn't like it was multiple grades. Like, he did look out for multiple grades, but when it really came down to it, he was, like, trying to form there for that last year. Yeah. And I was seeing that. I'm like, dang, that's why we thought we was going to win.
I mean, it's all plotting and planning. At the end of the day, it's like you have to come up with a strategy. I have to see what's going to work, where I'm going to be, you know. Yeah, I'm looking at the now, but I'm also looking at the future and what's coming after, you know. It's like, you know, you got to start looking and seeing who's going to prepare to come up, you know. And it's like I say, it's tough because you definitely want to look good. You know, they playing for a check, they playing for their job. You know,
they putting food on the table.
You know,
yeah. Oh no,
yeah.
I mean, that's like, okay, let's think about Banco. He left and he went to East St. John, but every time he was there, what I think he made to the playoff every year. But I mean, it wasn't enough. You know, just making it wasn't enough. Like they wanted more. They needed it all at that point. He made it every year, but that still wasn't enough for him. You know,
you'll hear murmurs like why he can't get out the first round. We got athletes. What's going on? So now you start making changes. Like, okay, I'm gonna come with this scheme. Okay, we're gonna send these kids to this camp. Okay, I don't want to let you go. I need to go get a new coordinator.
Who would say that? Like, who would say?
No, like the community. Oh, especially if you're in a small town.
I thought you meant like the principal or something like
that. Oh
no,
sometimes you get pressure on the principal.
It's like them Texas schools and stuff like that. They take football so seriously.
Oh, like it's beautiful. Like I would love to coach in Texas.
Really?
Because well, the thing is, you have to win. You don't have to teach. If you're a head coach or a coordinator, you do not teach a class. Granted, you're on contract. It's football and football only. You better win. But it's beautiful though. It's pressure. Like I love that.
I could thrive under that.
I could just show up and just practice playing.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Script play. Like it's a. I talked with another coach. That was, hey, when I was still at the school I was at, and I was like, we came to a mutual agreement, like we would take 10K less if we could just show up and coach. I would coach every sport. I mean, hell, I coached 4. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, if you're just coaching, why not?
Yeah, and that would put off of feedback, I was a phenomenal teacher, but that would give a teacher the opportunity to just step in. Now that's another job. That's one less person that's not unemployed.
How would charter schools work with that? I always wondered that.
They're a hybrid of a private school and a public school, but they're a business. They are corporately funded.
But can they make it to playoffs and stuff? Like,
Yeah.
do they get in the league?
They're under. You have to be under some type of governing body. So any school in this state is going to be LHSAA, with the exception of the MPSAA, whatever they're going by now.
Because like y'all saying some stuff right now, I'm like, I remember a little bit of that. Like, certain schools couldn't play other schools because it was too big and stuff like that. Or
they chicken out because PowerPoints. If I'm a 1A school, like I ain't gonna lie, Amy Kenwood, they can go play any 4A, 5A school in the state. But they don't want to do it because it's more of a risk for them and it's more reward for them because they win. That's more PowerPoints. It's higher ranking come playoff times. You know what I'm saying? So.
But that's like a Rumble. Like. Yeah. People like I still hear that people don't like to play Rumble too much because
you don't want to play a smaller school like that. That's a loss. You know what I'm saying? But Texas is a nice setup. Like our biggest 5A school might be 3 or 4A out there. They're one of the states that have 6A football. Yeah. Like Alabama and I think Georgia has 6A.
Like you smiling at that? That's your goal, huh?
Man,
is that where you want to be? Like you said, it's a stepping stone. So where you want to be after?
Honestly, I think
Texas, California.
Texas.
We talking 6-figure jobs, bro.
Man. I think people, they overlook the value of coaches too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I sit here and I tell you, like, okay, Banco. I formed 1 year. I formed a relationship with them, and I still a lot of what I carry comes from that, and it's like. Man, I told one of my players the other day, I said, man, I want to be that coach that you could call after you done made some type of success. You done did something like, man, hey, coach, like, whoop-de-whoop, I want you to be happy when you see me, like, man, this guy really cared about me, I don't want it to just be some little, you really take pride in what you do. We really taking it to a personal level. It might be times they going through something, they going to call us before they call it mom, dad, whoever. They come and talk to coach first, And I mean, they'll come call me like, Coach, can I talk to you something personal, or they might need some advice, whatever. You there for them. And I mean, it's almost like, think about it. You end up spending more time with your coach than you do your parents sometimes. If your parent works, you get home and, hey, how much time do y'all really sit down and spend together?
That's one thing I make a point to do now because, like, looking in my experience, my dad, he got home. He was beat. He was a construction worker. We'd be lucky if he cooked dinner. If not, it was takeout, and then he's probably in the bed sleeping by the time I got home. Because there was times I had to walk home. Like a lot of times I walked home from games or something like that because he was just too tired. And so I'm like looking back at that, I'm like, I will always make time for my kid. And it's no fault of him, but it was one of those things he didn't really realize at that time because he was just trying to survive and support.
That also goes into the problem that we're facing with. It's like nobody's really raising anybody. It's like, the kids get babysat, That's why I say, I mean, my years growing up, it was school, a little time at home with moms, but most of that time I was by myself. That time I'll go home, play my game, whatever, be outside chilling. Wouldn't really know adult time or anything with my parents, It was just whatever. Then repeat that same thing. Summer, same thing. Or go outside, play. Where's the real teaching and learning? That's why I say, where's the real value system,
Some people say the kids, the only thing teaching kids nowadays is the internet, school, and life. Their friends.
For example, I think, I'm not saying it would solve everything, but I think we would probably, the pregnancy rates would go down, and people that's active having sex at a younger age would probably drop if we would educate on sex.
Yeah,
I'm not saying a lot, but I think it will drop some.
No, we've talked about that. Like, health class is not health class.
That was a joke.
Yeah. You saw who coached that. Like, for us, it was some old guy that was lucky to stay awake and he'll massage the girl's shoulders while he's talking. I'm not saying names, but because you see that. That was so weird when he do that. He'd be like, walk up, good morning, Rebecca, how you doing today?
Is he running for president in 2020?
See? I would have been like, it was such and such. He stay off such and such road. I used to when I first kind of got blackballed out of the system, I used to be so petty. I was like, Maybe I should have banked students like other people, and I'll still be employed, and I'll be able to take care of my family.
Oh, I saying that too. It's like I say, it's all like I say. It's just so much. Who you know, who you are, what's the value people put on you. And I mean, it's like I remember watching Black Mirror. I don't know if any of y'all watched that. Yeah, the episode with the rating with the stars.
Yeah, that's like the first one I watched actually.
Where it literally it's dictating. Who how you value me, how you see me, just off of a rating.
You have to have higher stars and you're more popular. If you get like a 1 star, if you end up being 1 star for like a certain while, you actually get thrown in this jail because you're not fit for society.
Yeah, like come on now, like
I gotta say, because I remember the period where they were going through this big push of stop caring what people think about you, just worry about yourself. I believe that. I agree with that to a certain extent. Except I had a nephew that was like, man, fuck, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. I'm like, no. I'm like, that is not a good attitude to have. I was like, the way you present yourself to people is going to be everything in your life. Mm-hmm. I'm like, getting a job, getting married. I'm
especially
like, all
when
of that.
Everything's viewed physically.
Yeah. I'm like, you should not want people viewing you in a poor light.
I can't say that, though. You have to go off the personality.
Man, that made me think about this topic. I forgot who it was discussing it, but it was pretty much the topic of what's more important to develop the individual to develop being able to integrate.
A little bit of both, huh? I would say.
I mean, I do believe in the healthy mix. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But now I wouldn't want somebody to integrate to the point where they lose their identity.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm
Because
saying.
too much assimilation is bad.
You need a sense of self, but you also need a sense of society.
Well, it's funny because like you'd hear that a lot, but then once Instagram came out, like it was like you still hear that, but you're like, but she has over 4 million views and she just shows her ass.
That's what I'm talking
24/7.
Now it's not
and yes,
all
I'm a
about that
follower,
sense of
but mind your business.
She not just showing her ass. I mean, she has a beach backdrop, then a skyline backdrop.
Hold on. I got
puppies in the back.
I got
The
a lot to
gym
show
shot.
you that there is no backdrop.
That's another one for in the library.
There's some
reading The Prince
meaningless
by
quote
Machiavelli.
and just a full screen of cheeks.
That was a compilation. That was this was before and after. I've done sumo deadlifts for the last 6 months for these likes. That's what that was.
I mean, we've always heard what sex sells.
Oh, it's true.
I mean,
but it's always funny to me because we say that, and then like I said, I might follow a few though, so I am part of the problem at the end of the day. But it's the instinct.
The Instagram model.
it's the attention, man. I mean, I mean, people, think, addiction is just, beer, pills, weed, whatever. I mean,
attention is crack.
It's an addiction.
Well, they did the study where,
Endorphins.
yeah. Every time they get you get like an endorphin. So that's why a lot of girls are willing to do more than like pick them up from now, throw them 30 years and back and do that. You ain't doing that shit.
And see that. And that's what it is, man. It's just like we really don't want to be real with the problems that we have. A lot of us need healing as individuals, and then we also have to start caring. A lot of us are desensitized. We're so used to seeing some things. I can see somebody dead on my feed. Oh man, that sucks. Another one today, and just keep on scrolling.
Right.
That's literally how it starts to get. And that's crazy. When you look around and you see people being able to see some of these things, and it's just natural to see it.
Well, I think South Park did it best. So that episode where they were covering school shootings. And there's a school shooter, and Mr. Garrison's still teaching the class, nothing's wrong. FBI busts in, and he's moving the FBI out their way, trying to answer a question. I'm like damn, and parents are outside crying, and the kids are like, what's wrong? There was a school shooting. Okay, and?
Yeah, see.
And it's it's kind of true though, because it does. You demonetize from you're like, that's nothing.
And that's when the individual becomes dangerous though.
Yes.
You stop so caring about everything else. Now it's just okay, I'm still good though. I'm all right.
When I worked at Tulane, thing I noticed is you hear on the news about shootings in the world and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But you don't hear about as often as you would think. I mean, because when I was working at Tulane, we got notices from NOPD every time something like that happened. It was every night, and I'm like, the news didn't say nothing about it.
You can't, because you know why? Because even in Baton Rouge, if you report it too much, it affects the tourism.
Exactly. And that's what I said. NOPD was curving stats just for that. They were doing it for car theft and stuff too. They call it, instead of a car theft, they would call it unauthorized use of a movable. Because that sounded better than
2014 Mardi Gras. There was not a single crime report. There was a serial killer killing multiple people at that time. You know how many people died in New Orleans from a one person within a week? About 20.
Yeah, they also didn't report all those girls that went missing. They had a bunch of tourists, like girls came in from other countries, other states. A bunch of them went missing in New Orleans.
You know how I
during
found
Mardi
out?
Gras. They didn't, that wasn't even on the news.
From a cop on patrol during Mardi Gras.
That's why, bro. I haven't been to Mardi Gras since I was in 8th grade.
It was terrifying.
I've had girls tell me they've almost got kidnapped. You know, and you sometimes you're like, are they just playing? And then it's like
the sex trafficking real.
Yeah,
it's all them billboards and BR.
And it's not just that. You hear, oh, almost got kidnapped. You're like, you're exaggerating. And you don't think about it, but then
you're like,
you hear the stories and you're like, fuck, man.
I know a girl got robbed at gunpoint down the road several weeks ago. Gas station.
And nobody even hears about it.
Nah.
That's what I'm saying. They don't even report.
You can't be the whistleblower walking around because now you got a target on your back.
Yeah. Well, it's not just that too. If you want to get even more further, it's not just women. It's a lot of kids too. That like you get an Amber Alert every now and then, but then go walk in that Walmart and the front billboard full of missing kids, and I'm like, never heard of this.
But see that's why it's always okay. Let me show you this. Let me show you that. You know what I'm saying? It's always about, the being distracted by the racket. You know, like that's all it is. How can I get you over here? Like, hey, this is going on. Don't focus on that. It's just crazy. You can see it, like, just thinking about how everybody was Area 51, then it was the Face app. Then, you know what I'm saying? It just shows you. And that's just something small,
Well, that was like the whole, remember the dress? What color is the dress? Like, during that time, that's when net neutrality was
Still
trying to get passed and all that and getting going. And that's what's making me think right now. I'm like, okay, Area 51 was started by a random guy, but what's going on? Because the government blew that shit up, and they did.
Yeah, we gotta do a whole episode on that. I watched like 3 documentaries recently, and I'm like, nah, we need to talk about this.
The Bob Lazar one's dope. If you haven't watched that one yet, he's the one that actually worked at like a part of Area 51.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. He's not even like a UFO guy.
Yeah,
he don't give a shit about UFOs. He don't care about it. He don't care about that. He was just a scientist.
The government discredited him from, like, he just wanted out of Area 51, so he was discredited in the 80s. They actually got rid of every place he worked, his birth certificate, and
raided his house during the filming of this.
And then like he would say like, oh, this invention would analyze your bones. You'd put your hand in it and it measure the length, and they're like, there's no such thing as that.
A light shined down on it, and it was measuring the length of all the bones.
In the documentary, you actually see him like the documentary was like,
guy says,
hey, look, we found it, and he's like, what?
He's like, yep.
And he's like shocked to see it's on Netflix. It's really good. You'd like it.
I watched it at somebody else's house. I don't need my IP address getting tagged.
Yeah, I'm about to say, FBI is listening to us right now. CIA, like, all right.
Don't care.
I mean, you know what? And that's funny too. Everybody's like, oh, y'all just, man, you gotta be able to think some of these crazy thoughts sometime, man. You can't be stuck in, oh no, I can't, And it's not that it's crazy. It's just, man.
As long as you don't go full Alex Jones.
Yeah.
You mean the elves? The elves.
That's like who that was. I can't think who it was, but they was like, pretty much, I could think or ponder something evil, but it's like, did I act on it?
Yeah.
And that's what it's about at the end of the day.
Isn't that like what Jewish people believe? Isn't that a big thing? Like, you can think bad thoughts, but you don't act on it.
Yeah, acting on something and
thinking. And I think that's what gets a lot of people. It's like, oh, I thought this. You didn't do anything.
Yeah, somebody told me before. They're like, well, that separates humans and animals. Act fully on their instincts, and humans, we can think about something. I mean, come on, be honest. If men did whatever they wanted, there'd be a lot more rape going on. I mean,
there'd be a lot more death.
He'll be wild and out. Yeah, I say anybody made you mad, they'd be dead. Man, you see an attractive woman, I'm gonna take her. Be like caveman, they'd be dragging her by.
Right, with the club.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So, but I mean,
and
controlling
that's what it's
yourself.
about too. Yeah, and that awareness. That's the main thing. Awareness. Everybody wants to be woke, but what is woke? It's just that awareness. Are you aware? Like
that term, I've grown to hate.
Stay woke.
Because
that's because you sleep.
I'm sorry. I woke up for a while. And then I seen what the wokeness was becoming.
I woke up and didn't like what I saw.
I went back to sleep. Because, like everything, somehow politics has to put their greedy hands into it, and then it becomes a different term, and you're like, that's not what it's supposed to be.
If you continue to let that third eye be blind, you won't ever live a semi-charmed kind of life.
Praise Allah.
You gotta let it open.
Praise Allah.
Going back to what y'all were saying, though, it's funny because like we're talking about like all stuff you don't see in the news that really you should. But, you'll find out what the latest show on Netflix is, like, instantly. It'll pop up on my phone. Damn, new show on Netflix? They got a kid got kidnapped 2 blocks down the street. I don't even know about that.
I mean, just think about the notification center since like, from the beginning when we first had a phone. Look at it now. Like, I'm constantly getting an email, a Yahoo News update, my whatever. It's something constantly coming. It could be a game that I have, like, it's just on my phone pre-installed. I never even played it.
Hey, we missed you.
Yeah. Like, come on.
Yeah.
There's always just something, like, something to keep us. Keep it in. That's why I say I hate this thing at times.
Oh, dude, when I'm writing, like, there's sometimes I'm legit in my closet. Door shut, my phone's in another room. I'm just left alone because I will pick it up. That laptop is not connected to the internet. I can't.
I want to take a vacation. I want to go somewhere
if
with
it's
no
connected to the
cell
internet, I'm
phone
getting on Facebook somehow.
Nothing out there.
Or I'm like, I need to look this up for research. And the next thing you know, I'm down a rabbit hole that I'm not even going to write about.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, no, I disconnected that laptop. That's why I have two. That laptop is not meant for internet, and my phone's not meant to be near me when I'm doing it. I have Alexa in there playing music. That's it.
See.
Because that phone is a distraction in itself, and it will get you nowhere in life.
Yeah, that's all it is. Just everything.
Unless you're a female, sorry.
A distraction. Something to get you over here.
Yeah.
Then it's your bread and butter.
Premium Snapchat.
There you go.
How do they pay taxes on that?
What's that other one?
They are now because
They
somebody
are now?
got salty.
Premium
I've been wanting to know that. How they pay taxes on that? That's not right. We pay taxes.
They have to file reports and all. I tell you all the time, man. Look, this old rapper Pimp C, if he was still alive, he'd be very disappointed in all of us. I mean, I ain't spending money on no chick on the internet.
Yeah.
I'll spend money on girls I see every day.
No, I'm saying, like, come on now, but that's what it's.
Hey, the internet. I mean, porn's free.
That's
guys.
actually that's a good question. How do y'all deal with that often with these high school kids? I know girls get in their head and it's.
I mean, we kind of try to tell them, man, leave the girls alone. We give them the little stuff,
Well, we used to hear just yeah.
Remember, like 10 years ago,
you can't tell them anything because they have to experience
come on,
on
guys,
their
chill
own.
out. Focus. You try to give them examples of situations where you've been in a bad situation or something. But I mean, they gonna do what they want. They young. I just try to really get them to think, and just that's the main thing. Can you think? Like, the problem that people won't do, we won't think.
Yeah.
We won't analyze anything. Like, before you make that decision, think about it. And that was something I was reading about too. Just being on autopilot.
Not even just think about it for yourself. Think about it for her too.
Yeah.
Have a little bit of compassion. That girl may be falling in love with you, and you just trying to get something for the night. What you gonna mess that girl for life?
Discipline makes the man. That too. Talking about use like motivation. It's times where I spiral out. It's like right now. He might want to look at me now. I am not in shape. Be honest with you. It was at one point I was down to 175. I shot all the way back up to 205. Just for me, my world.
I say
you
saying that
world,
bicep
my
is different.
my world.
You gotta watch him. He'll boost your head.
When
I met him last time,
I'm like, who the fuck is this? I'm like that small ass girl bulking shit. I'm like, your Facebook profile is a lie. You're all buffy. I'm like, that's not right.
Like this in a Facebook profile.
Yeah,
I was like, you gotta watch him. I know where you getting at.
Look, all I'm saying is you register those for legal weapons.
Look,
Okay?
that's like them girls who think they fat. They're like, no, I'm too fat. I'm like, if you lose any weight, I ain't gonna find you.
It's for me, and that's important too. Being able to, cause that's part of the reason why I fell off too. I'm gonna get into that too, but like just that uphill thing. People think it's just like, man, how you can just go in there and you just hit that. Like it's easy. Like I'm like, man, do you realize I'm in there and it's like I'm doing sets and I'm like, man, come on, Val, we gotta get two more, man. And I'm literally sitting there right there with that weight on my back or whatever I'm doing, and I'm just like, shit. But I gotta push myself through it, And that's when I say those whys, like, why am I doing this, And I'm doing this insanity, putting myself through this tension and this hell. Why do I continue to go down and come up with this weight?
That's the bitch voice in you. You can't let that bitch voice get you. That bitch voice got me. I ain't gonna lie. You see this? That bitch voice got me 100%. Not in my mind, but physically it got me.
Like 10 years ago when I was going to the gym, and there's this dude that was in there every night, and he started, I guess, remembering the people that came like every night because I worked late, so I had to go to a 24-hour gym, come late at night. He was there every night, and if I didn't come, he remembered. And I show up the next day, and he walked to me, "Where were you?" And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "I don't even know you." He goes, "You weren't in here yesterday. Where were you?" And I'm like, Dude, I mean, he was a big old swole up black dude. I mean, this dude wrapped all these weights around his arm. He's like one-handed, pulled it up. I'm like, dude, you crazy, man. You
What?
huge. But he'd be going off on me. He's like, you know what? You got that pussy on the brain. That's your problem. He's like, you out there trying to get them hoes. He said, you should be in here. This is my house. I'm like, yes, sir. I'm like, whatever he says.
But see, that old school meathead, bro. Like anybody who's truly about fitness, they just want to see people become the best versions of themselves. Push yourself.
I ain't gonna lie, best coach I ever had.
So,
Had me in there
that
doing
being
work.
said,
I felt bad if I didn't come.
And the studies show it though. If you work out on a daily basis and improve your body, you are more likely. I mean, you're less likely to have depression, anxiety, and all those mental disorders.
Yeah.
And it's just funny because you're looking at it now, and we're at a high rate in America.
Yeah.
And it might be because we didn't track it before like this, but we seem to get at a higher and higher rate. I mean, I can go back to high school, and I don't know how many girls would tell you how their anxiety, depression is just taking over them, and I'm like,
But we're becoming less and less active as a people.
Exactly.
That's all it comes down to. I mean, just getting into my studying for my certifications, they tell you like it's like 80% of the money on healthcare, you know, people's expenses on chronic diseases. That's diseases from just sitting around not being active enough. So we're just treating things that's coming from us just being lazy. Where
That's actually one of the things I was talking to somebody about. I was like, do you think it'd be a good idea? You know, all this money they spend on all these program stuff. I was like, what about community gyms? Like, you know, a lot of kids can't afford a gym. What if they had just a place they can go? Like that dude be in there yelling at me, where were you? You know, it's free. I'd be in there.
But see, that's the stuff we need to care about. You know, it's things like that people will put it. And now I tell people, it's not about just the whole. Yeah, it's great to be in shape. It feels good, but it's that mental too. You know,
It's a community in there too. I'd say a lot of them gyms, everybody knows everybody in there.
I mean, we spend time. When we at the same gym, we sit there and just talk. Sometimes we fall out of our workout for a little bit because we just got caught up in the conversation. Or he knows, man. Once you in that rhythm, you miss a day. It's just like, oh shit, man, I feel bad.
Yeah,
But your gym bros will pick you back up.
I tell you one thing. When I was working out, it was hard to quit just because every time I was like, I'm not gonna go. I'm like, no, fuck that, because that soreness is gonna creep up on me again. I don't want that soreness at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I hate it.
You gotta work through that soreness.
And that's what I'm saying. So, but once you work past
get your money yet.
like you're like, fuck that. I don't want to stop because I'm gonna have to go through that again. I don't want to go through that.
I'm not gonna lie, for me, I don't know about for you, but it's like after I kill a workout when I'm just like dead, it's a mental high.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm literally on a mental high.
I used to work out at when I first started. You work out, you get home, you'll beat, you go to sleep. Later on, I was like, man, I can't be working out this late. I can't go home and go to sleep.
Yeah, because you up like, man, I ain't even
I got
tired.
too much energy. I got too much energy now.
You get a second win.
Yeah, the
That
run is
was
high.
killing me.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I gotta go to work tomorrow. I gotta go to bed.
Let me get to sleep, and it's crazy, and that's why I say, and especially as men, I mean, we're natural, we're movers, we're thinkers, we're logical, we're those constantly turning gears, you know. That's natural to us, you know. So it's just being natural to what we're supposed to be. Everybody, we're real. But we can't even do some of the natural things we're supposed to do.
That's why test levels are dropping too from inactivity. That and the way our diets have changed and societal shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like cars are getting. That's what really scares me. Like cars are just less and less more invasive for you. You're just kind of sitting there at some point. Mm-hmm. Like there's one dude who got into a wreck in a Tesla because he was having sex with the girl and he hit something and it fucked up the car, like the autopilot.
I ain't gonna lie, if I had an autonomous car, I'm like, I'll do it one time.
Yeah, but he was going fast. Like
on the road, nobody goes.
Put me on the old back road.
Like that would be the best like orgasm ever. Like you going $150 down the freeway.
Had the windows down.
All I'm saying, look, I ain't gonna lie, I'll risk it. I'll risk it.
You're a brave man, cause
I think we're going off the road. Shut up.
I'm an adrenaline junkie. I'm also a borderline nympho. Which ones?
The water?
The mic.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, they're in the fridge.
Yeah, the mic's in the fridge.
So
Y'all want the yin? They got a scotch. There's got one bottle that's like a scotch infused porter. If one of y'all want to try that.
Scotch infused.
Yeah, that one isn't a twist top. You need a bottle opener for that one.
Y'all look the same to me.
he just got somebody else.
Be drinking. You know what I'm saying? But you know, like, and I'll be honest, because that's something that I was actually gonna go into when me and Gary get our podcast started. Like low key, actually, I deal with depression and narcissism, and if I wasn't in the gym working out, you know what I'm saying?
I hit a period of really bad depression when I was younger, and I went to a psychiatrist and all that, but I didn't find like it was helping me. I'm like, yeah, you're talking about. I don't have a problem with talking about it. I said, I know I'm depressed. I was like, I could tell you all day about it, and I didn't understand what I was depressed about, and I realized it was a lack of personal goals. Yeah. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know where I wanted to be. And then I came up with like just a basic plan for me, and it worked for me. Is I made 3 goals. I said I want a long-term goal, a mid-term goal, and a short-term goal. Short-term goal is like something I can accomplish this week.
Right.
And a mid-term goal, something in the next few months. Long-term goal, maybe years away.
Right.
But I always had 3.
Right.
Anytime I finished one, I replaced it with something else. And eventually I just worked myself out of it, and then I was just back to normal. But I still, anytime I felt myself slipping like that, I'm like, well, I got to make up some kind of goal. I don't care what it could be, as silly as I need it to be, as long as it was something.
I mean, but as humans, like, we have to have something. We have to have a purpose every day. Like, it's kind of cheeky, but like the Meeseeks on Rick and Morty. We got to have something. You know what I'm saying? But no, it was crazy with me. This is actually when I first started teaching. I went to a doctor and I got diagnosed for ADD. Because there was a guy in college, he did like a speech. So me being me, I went home and like I filled out a grid. It was like, you may want to get tested for ADD. I went back and changed answers. Like I redid it like 4 or 5 times. Changed answers.
I can pass this. Hold on.
And it just kept coming back. You might want to go get screened for ADD. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember my family. They was like, yeah, your teachers, even as a kid, yada yada. But you was like, you on enough meds for your asthma and all that. You boom boom. Because I was one of those kids that had to go to the office every day and take my inhaler. And as a kid, you're like self-conscious about everything. So then like I was talking with some of my friends that are doing it, like, yeah, man, I could told you ADD. Look how spastic you always like. I'm like, all right, but so when I started teaching, I was like, well, I don't want this to be a distraction because I really have no attention span. And so I'm sitting down and like during the baseline test, I was like at like 93%. It's like, how the hell you been functioning? So after that, I talked to like the actual psychiatrist, and she was like, so I looked at your scores. Look like you're dealing with depression. You want to go into that? And I was like, I'm good. And then she looked at us like, also, you sure you're not narcissistic? You want to talk about that? I'm like,
why you gotta be bringing up old shit?
I'm good. So I jokingly tell people that I'm actually working on some stuff for some stand-up stuff I'm doing. I said like it's like a mental health cheat code. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not gonna kill myself because I'm narcissistic, but I hate my life because I'm depressed. You know what I'm saying? So like if you're gonna have like some jacked up mental health, just get something that go together. You know what I'm saying?
Me myself got a little
You know what I'm saying? But that's literally it, man. Just like I know like that's a selfish thing to do. You know what I'm saying? So like because I know that I have loved ones that depend on me, and I'm the guy that tell everybody else it's gonna be okay. So like I can't be a beacon of hope, and then boom, I do something stupid.
Yeah, dude,
you know what I'm
like,
saying?
Today marks the anniversary for Chester Branding team, Linkin Park singer.
Oh yeah, that's my band, bro.
I know, mine too. Like, it's just like thinking back to like he was going through some shit, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, you left a family. Like, he had a lot of kids.
You got it, like, and
I understand, like he was severely depressed.
It'll hit you at random times.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. Like, just listen to his songs have a whole new meaning now since he's passed. It's like Jesus Christ.
I feel like a lot of those people that live that lifestyle, I feel like they get depressed. Well, like I was just talking about the goals and stuff like that. They feel like they're at the top already. They don't know where else to go.
Well, a lot of times with gifted artists, like there's truth that comes from pain. Like look at Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Look at Pete Davidson. Temptations. What's my man name? David Ruffin.
David Ruffin.
You hear the emotion in the voice. You look at classical painters and classical like writers and stuff, like people that literally walked into a lake until no more bubbles came up. Mm. Sometimes you just can't help it, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes it's chemical imbalance. Sometimes it's you feel like you haven't accomplished anything. I mean, like with Chester, like they were still evolving their sound. They was always experimenting. He was literally, there's a picture of him smiling a day or two before. You never know what's going on behind somebody's forehead.
But that was the thing, like even in the beginning, because before the fame, he was depressed. You could hear it in almost every song, and like I said, when you hearing it as a kid, 'cause I grew up on Linkin Park. That was like one of my number one
teen angst. You pissed off all the time.
Well, dude, my MP3 had all their albums. Like that's all I really cared about. Like I mentioned this before when like Jay-Z and Linkin Park did that whole collab album. I was like, this is like, oh, this is insane for me. I loved it, and so now like after he passed and like I couldn't listen to it at first because it really brought up some heavy emotions. Just like hearing someone all your life and like you're like, okay, they're no longer here. And it's just like, it felt like I knew I never knew him in person, but at the same time, I felt that connection. And now I listen to his songs now, I'm just like, damn, he was crying. Like, just hearing it now, you're like, no one can say he never asked for help.
He felt that shit.
Yeah. Even now, even in his newest album, the last album he did, Why Is Everything So Heavy? Like, that once, why is everything so heavy? Like, Jesus Christ. Like, he was begging for it.
And like everybody in his life, like they were trying to help him to the best of their ability.
Yeah, his wife was trying.
I actually had a student, and I keep in contact with her now. She actually brought me her suicide note, and I'm reading it like in the middle of a class. You know what I'm saying? She's like, "Here, I want you to look at this," and I'm having to figure out like to see. I think at the time I was like 25, 26. So I'm sitting here, I'm reading something that a 15-year-old young lady brings me, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, do I turn it in?
She just gave you a big cry for help, and it's
and I'm trying to figure out how to carefully process this.
Because if you handle it wrong,
it's game over.
You're gonna feel guilty.
And this wasn't too long after she already had an attempt. You see what I'm saying?
Oh,
so
God,
so I'm just sitting there, like.
I mean,
y'all deal with all that with the kids.
No, I wouldn't say I've had it too. I mean, you could tell some of them have at-home issues and different things. All right, so let's take a deeper step into me. I know Mark, he probably be surprised to hear this, but it's all about how you deal with things too, and everybody's built different. But me, I come from, my mom was a drug addict. I've been in foster homes. When I was in high school, I stayed with different guys, from a guy named Brett Kipper to a guy named Jonathan Rucker, because my mom wasn't around to bring me to school. Like, I had to find a way. It was times where I was calling my sisters. I'm like, hey, sis, can you buy me some cleats? Can I buy you some cleats? Like, you know what I'm saying? What mama doing? You know what I'm saying? But, that drove me. I was angry. I had a lot of emotions in from that, too. So that was another reason I love football, too. That was another reason I was so angry and fiery, because that was a way for me to express everything. Because back to another thing that we deal with, too, is men. I didn't have any way to express it, and it was deal with it. I had a pops who was a military man. I was with him for a few years, and it was just, be tough. I remember days when I walked through the house, he just randomly punched me in my chest out of nowhere. Big 6'6", 280 guy.
I've been there.
I'm just crying. I'm like, what in the world? He like, man, I barely touched it. Stop crying. Like just that instant, like just to be tough, hold it in. But it's like, how do you deal with it? And it's also like, do you know what they're dealing with? I can't say everybody is strong enough to mentally deal with it. How do you feel? Because it was at times where I felt like, hey, moms didn't love me. Moms picked drugs over me. But, I mean, now I know that moms had her own other battles, things she was dealing with. There were things behind that. But it's just like, how many people truly have that understanding? Or how many people go through what I was going through, So, like, maybe my experience allows me to connect with some of those guys, too. Like, I was one guy, I'm like, man, what's going on with you at home? I'm asking them, and off dump, it's like somebody's not there, or a situation's weird, One guy, his dad's trying to get custody from another state, like, and he's not, like, just different stuff. Like, what are these kids really dealing with? What's going on in their daily lives, And then back to, we don't really have relationships with our parents like we should have. So who do they really have to talk to and go to when they're going through those things?
Because like a lot of things I found, just from personal experience, was like you said, your parents were battling their own fight at the time. Like they didn't have time to really bond with you like a kid needs. It was because if they like my mom, she's a pillhead, like bad. And I just remember like at the time when I was younger, I was like I knew, I might have been 12 at the time when it first really set in for me, but at the same time, like, no, I'm still her son. Like, I'm supposed to be important to her. And then it really hit me hard when I walked in my bedroom one time and I didn't have anything in my bedroom anymore. Everything was gone. And I'm like, wait, what's going on? And she's like, oh, well, we had to do this. Your room was getting this. I'm like, okay, so where's all my stuff? Oh, we had to give it away. And that's when I realized, and I'm like, okay, what's for dinner? Oh, we had the leftovers. And then, I'm eating bread and cheese or something like that, and I remember walking in her room and just new bottles of prescriptions that's not for her, all over the place, and she just passed out in a robe. And
you know what? I don't know if Kendrick was talking about this, but I just remember this line in one song, and it just kind of relates to me right now. And I think this is where we all just need to be honest. I'm fucked up. You're fucked up. Peace.
And that's what I was getting to. Like I haven't told anybody that. And the more I think about it, I'm like, what if I did, though? What if I would have told other kids about that? Because sometimes you're with your friends and you're just like, damn, I don't want to put my shit on them. Like, we're having a good time, but in the back of your head, you're still thinking about that.
And it's because we don't want to be seen as weak and vulnerable. But now I'm cool. Like I can say that now, and I'm like, I don't care. What are you gonna make fun of me for? Look, I could be a totally different person.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not for me when I tell it. It's not a pity story. It's a power story.
Yeah.
You know, so when I tell my guys that, and they like, damn, I'm like, nah, what you damning for? Like, am I saying right now? I'm like, yeah, maybe when I was going through it, yeah, but I'm telling you this because I'm here now, you know, and that's also, the point.
And it's also to let you know you're not alone. Because, like, when you tell other people that, because I've told something similar, because I have, a lot of stories when it comes to stuff like that. And I remember my friend kind of started crying. I'm like, dude, it's okay. I'm good. He's like, no, dude, you don't understand. And he'll start telling me about himself. I'm like, damn, dude, why don't you tell me that in high school, bro? Like, we could have really helped each other then. He's like,
but see, we don't even, okay, like this right here. This is real conversation. Even though it's set up to be this, but this is real conversation. Yeah. Like, and another thing, back to the Nick Cannon and KRS-One I was watching, he was talking about, how do I get this knowledge that we're getting? He was like, well, yeah, you could read some knowledge to get to this point, but the things we're talking and how it's coming out is from us talking. And that's what we're supposed to do as men. That's why we love the debate. That's why we love to talk and discuss. It's natural. It's how we got from, hey, stone to metal. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's from talking and debating and getting to a point. Not arguing, but literally having an educated debate.
That's why I hate social media, because everything's just attack.
I don't like talking through that, because you can't feel my energy. You might take something I say and be like, oh, well, baby, look, I ain't even mean it like that. You know what I'm saying? That's just how you read it, you know? And I'm going to be blunt. I mean, I'm sorry. When I'm texting on there or writing up on there, most of the time, I'm blunt, because I can't really... I could try to elaborate my words.
So something happened today, and I said that to somebody. I said, I think this would work better if I was talking to someone. I said, maybe I'm not wording it right.
It also doesn't help with, like, when you're like, okay, I don't want him to take it too serious, so you put LOL, but it's not a laughing matter.
Yeah, are you laughing about this?
Wait, but it's like...
I don't think my energy.
I mean, you could literally tell somebody, look, I'm not trying to be rude, but blah blah blah. Look, I just told you I'm not trying to be rude, but I couldn't word it in this message.
Like, if we were talking face to face, this would be a totally different conversation.
Unless they're coming at you with all caps.
Well, plus you'll feel where I'm coming from. Like, you may get offended by something. It's like, wait, but if you were sitting here talking to me, you would have known my sincerity in this, or that I'm not this way or that way.
Perfect
and
example.
And it would be different.
And, a lot of people, I'm still conflicted on that because I still don't know what he meant. But okay, let's go back to the controversial Kanye slavery was a choice. Off dump, a lot of people took it as...
Wait. I don't think I heard about that.
Well, no, that was a thing.
Yeah, that was a big thing. He said, okay. But
I don't think I heard about that.
And that's it. I'm like, you know what? Well, what is he really saying? I'm like, I don't think he's saying that, necessarily being put into the situation was a choice. But Harriet Tubman did say, I freed 1,000 slaves, but I could have freed 1,000 more if they would have... So what if he talking about those ones that was so subconsciously chained where they're like, nah, I'm not. So slavery was a choice in a sense still. So he was wrong in a certain light, but also in the other light, he was
didn't
right.
Express himself
so, one of the things that... Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Just last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it's like, we say that, but how many times have we been in a conversation, and I tell people this all the time, we like, man, but you feel what I'm saying? I ain't say exactly what I was saying, but when I say that, you like, man, yeah, I feel, what I'm saying? You didn't even say what you were trying to say, but I was able to infer and feel.
It's the vibes, man. There was a African professor, he was teaching philosophy, and he was one of the first people I saw defend Kanye's remark, and he said, no, you're not understanding. It's a choice because, one, that white man was outnumbered at that house. You have multiple slaves, and this, I'm not saying that was right, but that's how it was. There was multiple people. They could have took them on. Oh, well, then you have to take on the government. Yeah, but the Underground Railroads everyone knew about. And that's what he was saying. Like, it was a choice because you feared.
Yeah, it's the fear. Now you have the fear playing effect. But that was the whole point of them doing the different things they did because, yeah, we have the numbers, but if I could hit you here, then I can make you do whatever I want you to do.
And that was the thing. He also went on to say, one of the things they said on the boats was like, anyone that doesn't want to be free, that the Africans that are trying to take over the boats, we kill them too because they're not going to help.
Actually, makes me think about the internet. How people talk bad about the internet? It's like, but you gonna go home tonight, you gonna get back on the internet.
Yeah. You ever heard about Willie Lynch's letter?
Maybe.
All right, so basically, and it's a scholarly debate if Willie Lynch was a real person or not, but the letter's real, and it's a bomb ass game plan to enslave any group of people for 400 years.
Okay, no, I haven't heard this.
All right, so basically what you do is you'll take You'll take the dark-skinned slaves and light-skinned slaves, boom, you separate them. Mm-hmm. You separate the young from the old. All right? Then you take the biggest, baddest son of a bitch on the yard. You beat the living shit out of them in front of everybody.
Prison mentality?
Basically, you beat the fuck out of him in front of everybody. Now they are going to mentally submit to you. That's like the proverbial having a baby elephant tied to a tree by a rope, and when they're fucking massive, they won't walk away.
And one thing to add into it, make sure they know, buck breaking.
Oh yeah.
Also put into the buck breaking.
Yeah. So basically, the bucks were basically like the males. So, like a better way of saying it, if this was like 1600s, okay, like we would basically be like we both strapping. We could do all the fucking totes. We could do all the picking. They would use us to go mate with the best available women slaves available. Also, it'll be a situation where we are fighting for our lives in Master's headquarters in front, like that shit on Django. Like
yeah, I was to say Django.
Like that scene, that was fucking real. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So when you fast forward 400 years, look at what's happening. All the big bad black guys on the block, they fighting each other over a piece of land they don't own. Light skin and dark skin hate each other. Like that colorism shit stretches worldwide in the black community. Like the fact that I didn't even know the Dominican and that Haiti were on the same island. You know what I'm saying? And generally speaking, Haitians are darker, Dominicans are lighter. Within certain sects of community, sometimes the elders are disrespected, but there are also a lot of foolish elders in the black community. Like I said, like black people have been fucking brainwashed for like 400 or 500 years. See what I'm saying? So like
it's in the genes.
This is the main thing a lot of people don't get at too, where most people have a homeland. We have one, but there is no unity.
I saw that.
Perfect example. If we started we just started killing Chinese just randomly. Every Chinese person, we just pow, pow. What's gonna happen?
China coming.
You start just shooting Germans in America. What's gonna happen?
Coming.
You know what I'm saying?
You start
shooting Africans in America. What happens?
So
shit.
There was one guy.
I don't think Britain's taking us back.
But see,
it's like, you need help?
It's the point of having that. We legit don't have a culture. Mm-hmm. We have a created culture now, but we don't have a culture.
Question.
I know that. Go ahead.
Have you ever done Ancestry or?
I've heard. I've thought about it. I don't know.
So, I've heard from people who've done it that I haven't done it, but I'm pretty sure I'm Irish. Like I'm McDaniel. I got when you see this in a certain light, it's red. I'm pretty sure I'm more than likely Irish. Like, and my family says it. So. But I can say that. Mm-hmm. Where are you from in Africa?
Okay. Shit.
You take that DNA test, you think it's going to tell you where it is? Probably not, because your tribe might have been wiped out, or it might be over here.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the same professor, but that was brought to my attention too on the internet, where he was saying, y'all take pride in being black because you can't say where you're from. Mm-hmm. I don't care that I'm white. I do like the fact that I'm Irish. I like to make the joke, we drink to our sadness and then pass out and forget and then wake up again and do it again. It's just kind of what it is. Yes. So, but I can say I'm that. But black people can't really say that, and that's why y'all say y'all's black. And I'm like, it never really understood, because at first I'm like, man, like, say where y'all, like, I understand black, but at the same time, like, say where y'all from. Like, be proud, and then I'm like, oh, fuck it. You can't.
Even our last names, like.
Some can. I'm not saying not all, but a lot of it is like, oh, you can't. Like, it never dawned, and that when I read that, it pissed me off, not just because of the history, but because of the fact that you don't learn this, and that's what really makes me mad, because that's where a lot of the ignorance comes from now. We don't know.
Yeah.
Lack of education is a problem. Real education is a problem, and I think once people really understand that, you start to feel, because at the end of the day, our biggest fight isn't really black versus white; it's wrong versus right. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? All we ask for, whether it's black, white, blue, green, yellow, if it's wrong, let it be wrong. And if it's right, let it be right. And one of people's biggest arguments is, what about all the killings in the black community? Well, when Marquez kills Laquan, or however you want to say it, Marquez is going to jail. No matter how you look at it, he's going to jail. So that would be the issue. It's just justice has no color. It's right and wrong. Mm-hmm. That's all I care about at the end of the day.
But you know how I combat that? Because, see, I used to be one of those cats that be like, we do need to fix the black on black crime in our community. And then, like, once I started reading more literature and all that, I said, all right, crime of proximity. Excuse me. So, because of things like redlining and people kind of flocking to their own people, so to speak, chances are neighborhoods are going to be divided, not even so much on ethnicity, but on skin color.
Redlining
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, I'm sorry. Explain it for.
Yeah,
we're on a podcast.
We're on a podcast.
you want to? All right. So basically,
I don't know what the hell that was.
All right. So redlining was a practice where basically it helped shape the way neighborhoods look today on a skin color basis. So what happened is, especially I think this really stemmed out the post-war era when soldiers were coming back, GI Bills. You would have black family A. They would get shipped to a certain part of town. It would be a brand new 2-story house, 5-bedroom. It would be worth less than white family B for the same type of house in this other part of town. You know what I mean? Which was why I think I was talking to one of your guys, on Facebook. I was trying to let him know, like, all things being equal, same income, same credit score, we go apply for the same loan. Oh, that was you?
Some guy.
I didn't even know. Surprise! I just be like, I really just be saying shit and not even paying attention
No,
to what I'm talking
to. I'll touch on it. All I'm saying is, like, at one time, I mean, I think that'd be true, but now there actually are laws to try to keep that from happening.
No, those laws are in place.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We are constantly moving toward a better situation.
But we will get to
I didn't even know that's what I was
Yeah,
talking
that's why I
my
wanted
situation in particular, we ain't walking into no bank where I'm getting a better offer than you.
So now you understand why he wanted like.
Yeah, I was like, why am I coming on? I'm like, oh shit, that Lance. It makes sense now.
Mixed together.
But yeah, so like that's why like typically all things being equal, if you take, that's why I jokingly tell some of my white friends like, hey, when I get to the point where I can start making business ventures, I'm gonna get you to go negotiate for me, because like it really is like that real. Like, and even amongst black people, like I had a customer where I sold something to, and I told a white coworker, I guarantee if you'd have took your ass in there, she'd have took that shit no problem.
You know what I found funny? I went to a couple comic conventions, like small ones that they have in New Orleans, and they have this one particular guy who's selling his comic book. It's a superhero in New Orleans, and I liked it. Issue is you can't buy it digital. I can't really get to him all the time, so it's not one of those things I pick up. But when I see him, I try to buy what I can from him.
Yeah.
Now, most of the time, even the small conventions, you have a lot of other people who come, people who've drawn for Batman, like the high title comics, and you always see everyone over there, and then you have this one black guy who's sitting there with his comic books, and no one's giving him the time of day. But then you'll literally hear them say, I wish black people would do. I was like,
whoa, over here.
Like I was in the crowd one time when I heard that. I'm like, and I'm looking back. I'm like, he's right fucking there trying.
That's why Static Shock's so dope to me, because technically Static Shock isn't even a DC comic. It got bought by DC. I forgot that.
I used to love that cartoon.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's what kind of shaped the neighborhood. So like when people say that, I said, so chances are in any quote unquote community, the victim is going to look real similar to the actual perpetrator of the crime. And in poorer communities, not just black but yellow, brown, white, red, when people are fighting over scraps, like they're fighting to survive. I mean, it's no different than when I was talking with young athletes. I used to tell them, there's a sandwich on the floor, your family need it, my family need it, are you willing to take me out? And they'll hesitate to say no. I'll tell them they're not going to make it in athletics. Because in life, with any job, even my first teaching coaching job, I didn't even know it. I beat out a couple of friends for that job. They had to go do something else. So it's the same thing on the much more middle school level with the neighborhoods. I don't care where you go. Those kids are doing what they feel that they have to do in order to survive, because there's no other option. So that's why black on black crime exists the same way white on white crime exists in the poor community on that side.
Well, that's why people say it's the real thing that needs to be done is just showing him the options, showing him you do have options. They are there. They may be hard to see.
But see, the thing is too, it's like we get so caught up in it, like nobody really wants to understand. Like we have really bigger issues at hand. It's like, but we can't get past these little small things. We feel like, oh, if I give a little ground, then I'm losing something. That's what I'm saying. So far, like everything's about division. That's all it is. The divided people, man. That's all it is. It's like, how many ways can I divide them? Like, let me get them this, let me get them that, let me get them this. It's something for them to fight about. And the biggest problem is nobody wants to listen. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to listen. Okay, and it's like, okay, for example, like I say, we talk about the racism. It's a lot of black people that just don't talk about it because they feel like if I say anything, nothing's going to happen. So I've been in school. I've heard people say Daniel Orno. Probably never heard of it. Screamed out, I hate fucking niggers. We on the field playing. Boom, he screams out loud. Whoop-de-whoop.
Who?
Daniel Orno, you know what I'm saying?
The dude in y'all school?
Yeah, you know, Will Thompson.
Yeah, that's kind of.
Will Thompson.
I know Will was, but Daniel.
You didn't know that?
Dale, like.
Yeah, this is different things, but we didn't talk about it because it's like, man, they gonna say, oh, we just bringing it up. Or Will Thompson, what's the difference between a nigga and a bucket of shit? The bucket, you know what I'm saying? I've heard these.
When I heard that stuff, it was one of those things like you want to say something, but when you say it, you feel like you're alone. And in my case, I was like, what? Like he might be joking. Like it seemed like y'all was okay with it. I'm like, I'm not about to say something and get my ass beat over it.
And then look, it looked okay, but it probably was, oh, we just doing a ha, because if we react, then, oh, we're just that angry.
Right.
Yeah, because you can't react with emotion.
So at that time, I was like, okay, I do remember Will especially. I never heard Dale say that. That's very surprising for me.
This
was
out on this was actually in junior high. This was 8th or 7th grade. We're on the field together, and it was something happening, but me and a bunch of black guys ended up on a team, and we were like kicking ass or something. And he got mad at something, and he screamed it. This Coach Chatelaine experienced it. Everybody was out there. This was a whole like.
Did everybody just freeze?
It was just
the record.
And like we started walk Coach Chatelaine, but our thing was, honestly, it was football that held us back. It was like, man, if y'all whoop-de-woo, we got a game Friday. It ain't happening, and that kind of like froze us back, but. It was like literally like a quiet thing. This is a real moment. You know what I'm saying? This isn't a lie. This isn't anything that's created. Or I'm in Ponchatoula Walmart. I'm walking in. You know, I'm having a good day. I had a firework out that morning. I'm just feeling good. I'm going to get some groceries. I'm about to cook. Man, lady and daughter come out. Good morning, ma'am. How you doing? Her daughter's on this side. I'm right there walking towards. She take her daughter, move it to the other side, and pulls her close. What? I said, good morning, ma'am. How you doing? She ain't say nothing. Kept on rolling. But you took your daughter from the side that I was on.
Yeah, so you definitely acknowledged me, but just not.
You know, I'm not saying, hey, it might have been something. You know, maybe I'm tripping. I don't know. Maybe I was just.
No, because it depends. Because you never know someone's case. It could be that she
had some bad experience,
and that's why I say, hey, you know what? Maybe.
So, but the football case is just like you said with Will. Like one of the reasons why me and Nick, we never said anything because we were kind of like, no, like they're accepting it. I'm like, I'm not about because I was gonna get my ass whooped. Like I knew that if I would have said something, oh, that's the white. You just trying to stay.
It's that Homer Simpson meme.
So I'm like, okay, so if no one's saying anything, all right, so be it then. And like looking back on that, it's like, damn, you don't realize stuff like that. You don't.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't know it, but somebody would have stepped up and had your back. They'd be like, damn.
You probably would have got respect. Like,
yeah, like dude would be like, damn, white
and see, you think that because that goes through your mind too, but at the same time, you're like, reality.
And then I didn't even know that you hurt or you was.
Will, I always stayed away from Will. Like anyone that talked like that, I wanted to stay away from. I mean, it was wrong, but it wasn't because like I'm Mr. Righteous. It's more like I don't want that negativity in my life because I always knew like I want to be a writer.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be influenced. Like I don't want to be influenced by that.
Right.
That's not something I'm about.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I heard like Ashton Spano, when you probably know that whole deal when he said it and Denzel punched him in front of everybody.
Damn, Ashton said some shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Ashton said some stuff like that, and like the next day, Denzel walked up to him and punched him in the face in the middle of school, and everyone was like, "We didn't see shit." And Ashton was like, busted lip, crying, and we're like, "We don't know what happened."
You know, I had a junior high coach. He was a science teacher, but he said he took over the athletic program. He was half black and half white. And so it kind of helped him relate to both sides. Mm-hmm. He really kind of brought a bunch of people together in the school, and he fixed our athletic program. Our coach weighed like 500 pounds. Dude couldn't barely get out of a chair.
There's a party
anyway,
story.
Yeah, I'm like, they're shooting.
I'm gonna be your kid. I'm about to hit that deck so quick.
So anyway, but he took over our athletic program, and he came in and he said one of the main reasons he took it over was he saw a big divide in our gym program. A separation. You can see it. Everybody's set in different sections and stuff like that. Everybody was separated. Certain groups wouldn't even play. They wouldn't even cooperate with other people, and they weren't even playing. Like our coach wasn't taking us out. So anyway, he took over, And I remember one thing he said, look, all y'all got differences. I understand that. Y'all got different cultural backgrounds. Y'all got different families, different neighborhoods, different everything. And one thing he told us, and it worked, I ain't gonna lie, over that past year, everybody, we were all playing, we're all talking, we're all hanging out, we're all cracking jokes together. He said, if you sit down any two people, I don't care how big their differences are, you sit them down, tie them to a chair, make them sit there long enough, they will come to some kind of agreement, mutual understanding.
And that's what we're doing. We're tying people to chairs on this podcast and getting them
That's my point. Is some people, now if you let them run their mouth, of course they may end up going to blows, but that's a problem. You let that get in the way.
So like
instead of just kept talking.
One of the reasons why I started this podcast, I say this all the time. Forgive me, people, but I know you were on that post with him.
Yeah.
But you saw my brother, the Morton, the white guy that was like just started laughing, white. I feel sorry. And I'm just like, you're part of the problem, because I don't know if you read what he said, but
we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But my brother, instead of coming on and talking,
I never
about
insulted
what he
anybody.
said,
No,
he just came on, made fun of what he said, called him a Wonder Bread, which my brother is white.
Wonder Bread. Yeah,
My
you
brother's-
can't say that you're
but
Wonder
I'm gonna
Bread.
keep it true. His brother profile picture. I'm like, is this a black dude?
Yeah,
White dude talking.
that's his husband. That's his husband. my brother's.
Yeah, let's clarify that.
So, like, I know you probably saw that. You're probably thinking the black.
I scrolled a few more. I'm like, all right, man, it's the white
he
dude.
also wait. You gonna tell him Party told you personally?
What part?
Party told you later about like y'all don't even have on the show.
Oh, what I was saying. So
I was like, what?
So he was insulting him, and I was going like, Lance, I'm gonna say something. He's like, no, Lance, like I got this. We're both co-hosts. Let me just handle it. And so I'm like, okay. And so
I didn't want him to get drug into it.
And so what ended up happening, because what he said I don't fully agree with. But anyway, my brother went ahead and made a personal post on his Facebook. Lance doesn't have him as a friend. When he calls Lance a stupid, arrogant Wonder Bread again, and all this, and I'm just like, tough. And so I commented. I said, this is very disappointing to watch you ignore a conversation and just come insult someone on your personal. I'm like you're part of the problem.
You didn't even conversate. I'm like, I was even trying to conversate with you, and you ran off.
He really was. Cause I tell you, like, I wasn't even clicking on the profile pictures of like see who was saying what. I just, me, I just be typing.
So, but the thing was,
what I was doing too.
Yeah. it was infuriating to me, because I'm like, dude, like, when you're my brother, you should if you're going, what this is about. Yeah. You should definitely just.
And he knows who I am.
I'm like, dude, you're just insulting, and you go on a personal page, and like he was like, oh, he's like, well, how many people of color have you had on the podcast?
That was a big ass picture that me and Garrett took.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, granted, only a couple.
Not to mention,
we are still starting out.
We've never told anyone they couldn't come.
Well, no, I have told people they couldn't come, but it's people like him.
Yeah, we told people if you can't have a civil conversation, then we
can't have you on, because it's just going
to. He wanted to be on there. We're like, nah, dude, you can't talk.
He wanted to be on there.
It's not going to be to just come on there and just talk. You got to have a mutual respect in the conversation.
I'm like, even if you don't agree at the end, y'all need to be okay with each other. Right. That's the point of it.
If we had to have if we had to have a KKK guy and another guy in the same room, I would love for them to sit down and have a conversation. I would love to moderate that conversation. So I could be like,
type of conversation in the bar once.
So I can be like, look, y'all can't fight, but y'all can talk. All y'all want.
Say whatever you want.
I'm a big listener of Joe Rogan's podcast.
Okay.
He had this one particular guy on. Forgive me, I do not remember his name, but
that's a good name.
He's a guy. No, I don't. Maybe I don't know the people. I don't watch it. I listen to it.
Okay.
But he had this one guy on who got a lot of shit for interviewing the head of the KKK, and he said, "Well, why wouldn't I? Don't we want to understand why they think that way?
Yeah.
Like, he's like,
give
from
him
my perspective, yeah, like why'd you give him a platform? He's like, everyone's gonna have a platform. I mean, it's your choice to listen to him. And he's like, I just want to understand why they think that way, because I know I'm never gonna think that way, but I want to understand what makes them tick. I want to see the problem, and we can't do that if we're closed-minded. And I'm not saying go talk to a KKK person by yourself. Like, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, we need no matter what, we need conversations on other sides, even if it's horribly wrong. I mean, they interview serial killers. Why do you think they do that? To understand what happened, understand the clip.
Now there was another guy who did the same thing. Like, at first he started with like conversation, well, he kind of went to insulting right away, and I'm like, what? I'm like, and it's funny because these were all white guys, right? It was all white guys that were saying this.
Like, he was the only person of color that said something.
Every
was,
other person
you were
on here is
conversating.
conversating
Right.
with me. I was like, why are y'all the only ones saying stupid stuff? And I was like, and then he went to like attacking grammar. I'm like, dude, this is Facebook.
Come on, man.
I'm
Well,
like, are you serious?
He said, I'm not about to read that wall of text. You didn't paragraph anything.
Yeah, you didn't paragraph or
He's like, there's an edit button if you'd like to edit it so I can read it and understand. I'm like you stupid,
It's like,
ignorant
really?
dude.
Oh,
Like,
crap.
Look, we sit here conversing on Facebook, and you sitting here attacking grammar. I ain't got time for it.
Well,
that's what he.
I told him. My exact words when I said, "Look, dude," I said, "This is Facebook. I'm not writing a college thesis on this. Okay?" I was like, "I'm just getting some words out to you." And then I told him, I said, "Look, but if you want to attack me and insult me and stuff like that," I said, "You've intellectually removed yourself from the conversation." I was like, "So I said you can insult all you want, but intellectually, I'm not even acknowledging you anymore." So.
Don't matter to me.
That's what I said. I'm not even going to insult you. I even told him, because I even told him, I said, look.
You can grab one out the fridge.
I said, if you want to come back to the conversation
Yeah, man.
and talk to me, I said, I'll welcome you back whenever you're ready. I was like, but as long as you go do this.
Apparently we got the racist smeared off, the red, white, and berry freedom one.
Let freedom ring, baby. I just got my walking papers, boss. All it took for me to get this.
He said, what's race? I said, it's got the Washington Monument in the
Well,
background.
I don't know if you saw that thing with Chris Pratt recently.
Wait, what the hell happened with Chris Pratt?
You didn't hear about it?
Yeah,
But
I might have.
he had an American flag and it said, "Don't tread on me."
He wore the "Don't tread on me."
Ah, that's where that
shirt.
shit came from.
What?
Look, I seen like some memes.
That was a Navy flag.
Bro, like,
Yeah, sorry.
there's so much shit that has some type of racist history or some type of racial connotation. Like, remember the freaking Fleur de Lis? People was talking about, oh man, that's right. Okay, it's fucking South Louisiana. I'm pretty sure somebody did use the Fleur de Lis, the brand of slave. That don't make the Fleur de Lis itself racist. That's like the freaking swastika that came from I forgot. It meant some shit with peace. I think like a Tibetan monk or something like that.
Tibetan monks.
Then it's something, a
That's where the swastika
representation
came
of the Northeast.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole
That's
bunch
just like
of...
with a cross. That meant that a guy randomly decided, or by divine intervention, how you want to look at it, decided to die for people's sins. The Klan take that shit and set it on fire. Context.
Every time someone talks about that, I think of that Reno 911 episode. I don't know if you ever watched that one. It's a cop show. Like, it was called
I've
Comedy
seen it, but I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
watched it.
It was stupid cops, ignorant people. But like they're sitting there and they go, "Now, Clarence, you know you can't light that cross on fire for the KKK." I'm not lighting it on fire for the KKK. I'm lighting it on fire for the barbecue.
He told me, I didn't even know.
You barbecuing? What you barbecuing? Well, I don't know. Let me light this little cross on fire. You know what? No, man. I know what you're doing. Give me the gasoline. But let me just give me the gasoline. He pours it on it. And he's running around trying to light him.
Like, we're having a party. What you talking about?
I ain't never seen
Hey,
that.
look, one comedian from Alexandria, he did say that they make some great barbecue.
Oh, what's
Josh
his name?
Johnson.
Oh yeah, that dude's hilarious.
Hey, I want some of that. I hate niggas barbecue. If it tastes that great, you know I'm gonna pull up for some food, Val. You know me. I'll bring some black people potato salad. We'll sit
Hey,
down.
I don't agree with
We
you,
can
but
see what's gonna happen
the
afterwards.
grill food good.
You're gonna have to come over when I smoke those ribs.
All right, I'm gonna pull up. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm all
You
about
invited
it.
too.
Hey, we should do.
Hey,
That's
I'm
actually a
over
good
here
idea.
looking.
We should invite like guests that have been on the show and do a podcast.
One of the other reasons why I like to do this podcast is because I get to talk to people I haven't talked to in forever. And sometimes you'll see someone on Facebook, you're like, man, I wonder how they're doing, but you're like, nah, I probably shouldn't talk. They're probably doing their own thing, you know.
And then you know what, like it's then evolving too, like, you know, thinking about to like the conversations we used to have compared to now, like you see the growth in the education and how different everything is. You know?
Well, it's funny too, because then you're like, when you hear someone talking, you're like, damn, dude, I didn't know you knew that.
Yeah,
or I didn't even know that. Like, where'd you get that
You don't
from?
really know the depth of someone's knowledge.
Yeah.
You really talk to them.
Oh, because in high school it was all about drinking and who can out wrestle who.
Yeah, we didn't know shit.
And then, you know, the back to that whole, you know, it's let's just judge somebody rather than, oh, do I really know them? Have I had the time to really talk and understand them? And, you know, how deep are they really? You know, are they just shallow, or does it go further than that? You know, because not everybody can sit in here and have this conversation. There'll be some people who'll be sitting there like, what the hell are they talking about, you know?
That's facts.
Everybody ain't ready for it either, too, you know?
And that's what I said, a key sign of immaturity.
That was
not mature enough to that level to have an
my
adult conversation.
My brother, he was just kind of like, he's like, well,
That's
I
exactly what I told him.
have little patience for ignorance. And I said, well, I didn't say it because at that point I'm like, he was getting on my skin. So I was like, I
Because what Lance was saying, I could get where he was coming from. You know what I'm saying? Because
Okay, hold on. We're gonna get
we're
to
gonna
that.
do that.
I was like, yeah.
But my point was, it was like when he said that
he told me later. I just want to say that he told you and your wife told me later. I was like, okay, wait, maybe people didn't understand. What because everybody kept telling me, I'm like, wait, but that ain't even what I meant by that.
I'm like, he left out some stuff that he should have mentioned.
Well, some of it I couldn't, and I'm not even sure if I'll be able to do it there, just because there is some personal relationship involved with the person that.
And it was funny. I was like, of all the things you wanted to post about, you chose that.
That started with the knee jerk reaction to something somebody said to me, and then it blew up into that.
Hey, I'm not now. Look, I hope I ain't rubbing off on you.
No, that was the conversation. That was the conversation me and him had. No, I'm not gonna say what it was.
But anyway, my whole issue is, I do not have patience for ignorance. Well, you don't have patience for yourself, because I'm sorry, everybody's ignorant.
No facts.
And so, if you don't have patience for ignorant, you are not a person that should be allowed to talk.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Nobody knows everything at any given moment.
No, it's not even that. It's like, that was the whole thing. It's like, yeah, like, let's say he did say something racist. He didn't, but let's say he did. Why did he say it? First of all, you're offended when you're not offended, which is weird to me. Like the whole Chris Pratt thing, it's racist. Mostly white people saying that, and I'm just like, why are y'all pointing something out? Like, are y'all trying to be, hey, look at me, I'm righteous, I'm like,
it's a contest.
But I'm like, it shouldn't be. Like,
it is. It's a contest.
Like, call it out when you see it, but don't call it out on American Flag or something stupid like that. Or
he even brought somebody else in. He sent a message to me, man, you come in here, and I'm like, what? Dude, you're talking to me.
Okay, so
anyway, but that's another thing. That just goes to our point
we're
about
probably
conversation.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this one up, and we're gonna go to the next one.
You can stay for that one.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to stay. Davalius, pleasure with you. Do you want to
plug anything? Or
come watch your football team?
Anything going on?
You want to say some schedules for your football team coming up?
Definitely come check us out.
Give a shout out to anybody, any of your players.
Nah, we ain't doing no shouting out, but keep them humble, But definitely come check us out. I think we putting something special together. I got a little project in mind. Actually, I'm trying to work on trying to get a few of the guys I play ball with, like I said, and do that. If you could have one last message, or if you could pass on one last thing, what would it be?
What would yours be?
I
always want to end it with a question. He knows that.
It's not completely done.
No, go ahead, soft, man.
But just the paragraph that I have, or just the opening line, it's every day deposits are being made, and at the end of the day, it's big bank takes little bank, and that's why I'm starting mine at. It's big bank take little bank. And every day a deposit is being made. So when it's all said and done, how big is your deposit? And, that's what I'm going to kind of go into them about, And that's just hard work.
Okay, well, we've been the divided people. Go get motivated, bitches.